That was like 2 months ago.
So hello, homos. How's everybody doing?
Oh, it's nice to be back. Nice to be back.
I'm here.
Oh, I love that Nora's here.
Yeah.
So what did you guys do with Al?
Nothing.
I hear he's in someone's trunk. That happens every once in a while.
Again, it's probably in my trunk. So I'm super happy that Nora's here and Dino's back from his escapade, sleeping with men on the West Coast.
Yes, Dino.
And Mr. Paul Thomas is in the house, wearing the right color.
Happy to be here. Yeah, today's a purple day.
Yes, it is.
That's right.
Get the memo.
And my brother from another mother that just does his own thing, Mr. Tony Lima.
Yes, no purple for me.
You look super skinny today, bro.
No, super skinny in those shots that we're showing.
You gotta love the gay community. Welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news show. It's time to queer up the news. It's 8 p.m., November 15th, 2021, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're gonna tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience. We bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our community.
That's right. I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Faye. What? Yeah, no need to adjust your televisions. Al Ferguson is not here. He's in the trunk of my car. All right, so let's get this party started. Our first anchor is none other than Mr. Tony Lima. He is CEO of SunServe here in Wilton Manors. He's a longtime South Florida LGBTQ plus activist and political advocate, as well as the anchor of the world's first monthly transgender talk show called Translation. Good evening, baby brother.
Good morning, sis. Or is it evening?
It's evening.
I can't tell when I'm here with you because you're so much more beautiful than Al Ferguson. It's mesmerizing.
He's going to be mad about that. You know that, right?
I'm counting on it. I'm counting on it. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. And you know something, sis? I have to say that Translation is now going to become weekly again very, very soon. So look out for that. It's one of the most magical shows that we do here on Happening Out Television Network. So make sure to watch. Now we're going to welcome anchor Nora Rotella, a founding partner of Rotella and Hernandez, a full-service immigration and family law firm. She is a Supreme Court certified family law mediator and was co-chair of the Gay and Lesbian Lawyer Association and winner of Florida's Legal Elite Award. Good evening, Nora.
Good evening, Tony. My intro needs to be revamped because it's so boring. But
and Nora Rotella, the sexiest person at the table. There, I added that. Go.
All right. Now let's welcome anchor Paul Thomas. He's currently the chairman of the LGBTQ plus advisory committee to the city of Miami Beach, a board member of Miami Beach Pride.
Breach.
Breach.
Yes, that's
Sorry
it.
about that.
That's right next to beach.
That's right next to beach. He's also on the board of trustees for the Point Foundation and the endorsement committee for SAVE. Tony, we're going to have a conversation after this. He has over 30 years of experience in the healthcare and education fields, specializing in AIDS and HIV treatments, as well as an activist advocate for marginalized communities. Locally, he works with many of our nonprofits and FQHCs, providing a wide range of services. Good evening, Paul.
Wow, that was a lot. Good evening, Nora. Let's welcome anchor Dino Mosquera. He joined the Miami Gay and Lesbian Film Festival in the late 90s and now serves on the Outshine Film Festival's board of directors. He is now the screening committee chairman, selecting films for one of America's most important LGBTQ plus film festivals. Welcome, Dino.
Thank you, Paul. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, November 15, 2021.
Let's begin by queering up entertainment. MTV EMA's Rock Hungary and anti-LGBTQ president. The MTV EMAs were last night in Hungary, where the president has become increasingly anti-LGBTQ+. MTV decided to keep their EMAs in the country to support the LGBTQ individuals living there, and this year MTV honored a new group of activists with its 2021 MTV EMA Generation Change Award. This year's honorees are fighting for LGBTQ+ rights around the world, using their talent and passion to advocate for queer communities globally. The 2021 MTV EMA Generation Change honorees are Amir Ashur, Matthew Blaze, Sage Dolan Sandrino, and Erica Hilton, and Victoria Radvano. They were celebrated during Sunday night's EMA ceremony, and each winner chose an organization or NGO to receive a monetary donation from MTV. The awards are in partnership with the LGBTQ advocacy group All Out.
That's amazing. I'm so glad they stayed and that they're using their platform to help the people there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so glad.
I was doing a little bit of research on the honorees just to take a look at, okay, who got this award. So it was fantastic to see that from Brazil, you have an individual who is your first trans to receive an award.
And black.
And black, yeah. It was quite amazing. And I think also you had someone from Iraq that was on that list of recipients. Yeah. So fantastic. And you know what? Budapest is pretty, but I mean, there's other places to go.
There's other places to go. I love that. You know what's especially exciting about this? That these forms of or platforms for entertainment didn't at first were ever used for like any kind of activism or to highlight this kind of change maker work. And I think it's really exciting that MTV is doing this kind of thing. It shows a change in the times. It shows that we have to educate folks on what's happening in the world as a whole and really shine light on issues that are important to all of us.
I'm glad they picked Victoria for because she represents Hungary, and the show took place in Hungary.
Yeah.
And Hungary has been going through a big fight with the government, Viktor Orban, with the gay community, the LGBT community.
Weren't they the ones that had like no gay zones and stuff like that for a while?
Yeah, and no teaching or propaganda in schools for kids, with the thing of protecting families and all this stuff. She actually organizes the Budapest Gay Pride. And this honor is very important when the show is being hosted in Hungary. So I'm glad you did.
What better way to make change through music, though, right?
Yeah.
There's not a better vehicle than music to break down those barriers.
And we have to give huge kudos to MTV for staying in Hungary, because somebody else would have said that, you know what, it's going to be easier if we do it in Las Vegas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm like, there's other places.
Right? There's plenty of other places, but they're like, no, we're going to stay here and we're going to do it right. And, and then the honorees give me life, because they tell us that next generation of LGBTQ is going to be out there and they're not going to take beep from no one.
I agree.
So awesome.
On that beep, let's queer up business. Target's brown nutcracker with pride flag ignites TikTok. A brown-skinned nutcracker doll holding a rainbow flag and dressed in a rainbow hat and suit sparked a viral debate on TikTok. TikTok user @Spawnlings posted video footage of the doll, which is being sold at Target. The TikTok video had more than 108,000 likes, 2,000 shares, and 2,300 comments as of this morning. The brown-skinned rainbow doll was placed on a Target shelf next to a traditional-looking white nutcracker doll holding a sword instead of a pride flag. Maybe for the not-so-proud Target shoppers, quote, "This is what Tchaikovsky wanted," one viewer commented, referencing Russian composer Peter Tchaikovsky, who created the Nutcracker Ballet. Slay, another viewer joked. Several viewers pointed out that the rainbow-toting doll was a prime example of rainbow capitalism, but they still wanted one. Another confused viewer wrote, quote, "This feels like the best form of representation as well as a hate crime. I'm honestly so confused," end quote. I want this. I want this doll. I've been searching for it because I collect nutcrackers to start with, and it's impossible to get one anywhere.
You're not going to find one.
I want one so bad.
And it's a beautiful one. It's actually
It's
beautiful.
gorgeous.
It's a
That was
beautiful
the way the
Progressive Pride
nutcracker
flag.
was intended.
Right?
It was originally intended to be.
Okay,
like,
so-
Tchaikovsky would be happy.
Am I the only one, brother? I mean, when I first saw the nutcracker, the brown nutcracker, I go, look, it looks like Tony at Pride.
Yes,
Right?
it does. It does. Absolutely.
With the little banderita and everything. I was like, ah.
It's so cute.
So that's my first comment. I love it. And second of all, you're not going to find this anywhere, just like Nora said, all right? They're already going to sell it for, hundreds upon hundreds of dollars on eBay, so olvídalo, But I disagree with the person that said that it's all gay propaganda, because Target didn't set it out that way. They didn't even publicize that it was the gay nutcracker or whatever it is, Someone just found it and then put it on TikTok. I like those. It doesn't have to be all in your face when you're coming to support our community. Just putting us right next to the white nutcracker is enough. Thank you.
Fantastic. I'm going to take a deep breath for this next one, guys. Let's queer up health.
You can do it. You can do
The
it.
search for the gay gene underway. Should queer people support it? To many of us, the attractions of gay sex are pretty obvious. But some scientists continue to wonder why people do it. If gay sex isn't reproductive, why hasn't natural selection weeded out all the queers? Why, after all of this evolutionary time, isn't everybody straight? Increasingly, people think that sexuality is biologically innate. Sexual preferences shouldn't be changed, and they can't be. Simple as that. Per the famous Gaga refrain, we are born this way. Indeed, scientists may have helped to promote these beliefs. Some say not only that genes largely decide your sexuality, but also that genes help to explain why gay people exist at all. Genetic research on sexuality and other complex behavior traits is growing fast. Some LGBTQ+ advocates claim it shows that being gay is natural and not a choice, and that the proliferation of sexual genetic research is something to straightforwardly celebrate.
That was awesome.
I had to do it. Genetic research on homosexuality began in earnest in the 1990s. Scientists claim that genes on the X chromosomes are associated with male homosexuality. Long before then, eugenics or social movements to control human reproduction in order to increase the fitness of national populations played a role in the oppression of gay people. Eugenics research reached its peak in the late 19th and earliest 20th century, leading to the forced sterilization and genocide of not only queer people, but also Jewish and disabled peoples in Nazi Germany, and largely Black, brown, and immigrant peoples in the US. Even after the Second World War, eugenic policies and movements continued to haunt LGBTQ+ communities. Would the discovery of a gay gene lead to gay equality or Gattaca?
Well, kudos to you for reading this entire story.
Thank you.
This is probably the longest story in Queer News Tonight history.
She did great.
You did amazing. You did amazing.
Thank you.
But what an interesting story,
It is.
right? Like,
Really
could that in fact really change the face of LGBTQ humanity?
Or would people choosing genetically if their child has blonde hair and blue eyes? Would people start to say,
Choose.
like, I want to take out the gay gene?
I don't want my kid
It
to be
could
gay.
Very right.
It gave me pause. It gave me pause because I'm all of the belief that we are born this way, or at least this is my, I
Sing it,
believe.
Dino.
Yes, we are born this. Especially when growing up with two other stray brothers in the same household, same social environment, with the same, it's the same factors,
Sure.
and I'm the one. I'm the chosen one.
Yes, you
the
are.
lucky one.
Right.
So how do you, explain that? So I don't know if that's gonna, because it's proposing that it may be more than just genetic, and because of genetics, people may choose, like you said, to weed out the gays.
But would you?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, Paul, please.
I was just going to say, they keep saying gay people don't have children. I'm like, but we do reproduce.
Yes.
And the straight people that are reproducing are having gay children. Like, they're trying so hard to make it unnatural when it's clearly natural.
But would you support this? Would you support this scientifically looking for that gay gene?
That's a really good question.
That's hard, because I remember first coming out, like I've always had, it was very difficult for me to come out. I still have a strained relationship with my mother because I came out. And I used to mess with her, I used to drink a lot, as you guys know. So I would mess with her and I would tell her, that the gay gene comes from the mom, right? And then I would just smile. So, like, to have some factual evidence to back that up, you know, any reason to fight with my mom, Thanksgiving is coming. You know what I mean? So, I'm down. Just saying.
I think
Okay.
scientifically, I think it would be an interesting thing.
Right.
I think we better
Absolutely
clear up politics.
Yeah.
While Faye is fighting with her mom. We'll just segue. Florida's Charlie Crist runs against DeSantis and asked at Equality Florida Broward Gala, is there a wrong choice? At Sunday's Equality Florida Broward Gala, Happening Out television network hosts Al Ferguson and Kitty Meow got to interview Charlie Crist, Congressman Charlie Crist, who is running for governor of Florida against Ron DeSantis. Charlie Crist, who used to identify as a moderate Republican, is now running as a Democrat. Listen to what he has to say in this interview. Watch this.
Well, it's Al Ferguson from Queer News Tonight, and it's happening out. And the gentleman with Kitty, Meow, and I needs no introduction. Congressman Charlie Crist, former governor Charlie Crist.
Welcome, sir.
We are thrilled you're here tonight at Equality Florida at the Broward Gala. This is the 19th anniversary of the Broward Gala. A wonderful opportunity. Thank you, first off, for showing up tonight. It indicates, of course, you've been a long-time advocate, but that you stand up for equality.
Well, it's important, and my dear friend Scott Bennett invited me, and so how could I say no?
Absolutely.
And then got to see so many wonderful friends this evening. It's great to be here, Al.
Well, we of course want to take the opportunity at Queer News Tonight. We follow you. We follow the politics of what's going on with the Equality Act and all of the things that are going on in Washington. Kind of give us a little thumbnail of where you think we're at for LGBT in America and here in Florida, of course. Your thoughts about what you're watching and participating in, what you hear. What do you think?
I think we're in a great place. I really do. I think we've made so much progress, and Equality Florida is responsible for so much of it. My dear friend Nadine Smith, I'm so proud of her and her great work and the great progress that's been made.
She's kind of a neighbor of yours in
She
Pinellas
is a neighbor
County,
of mine.
right?
That's right, Al.
Right.
That's absolutely true. And I love her to death. Just saw her a few minutes ago, and just keep going, onward and upward.
Absolutely.
It's a busy time in Washington. We've crossed the threshold of starting to look ahead for the midterms. Your election as governor. It's no secret about the LGBTQ community's feelings about our current governor and our current senator, both of which are up for re-election in 22 and the midterms, of course. Tell us a little bit about what's at stake from your seat.
I think everything's at stake. When you talk about Governor DeSantis and what he's doing with the woman's right to choose, what he did with LGBTQ and some of the funding for the Pulse nightclub, vetoing it.
Just being hateful.
It's very much so, and that's awful. It's awful. Because Florida's a much better place than that.
Absolutely.
A wonderful place of great diversity with so many different people. And Val Demings, who's running for the Senate, will be a great addition to the United States Senate from Florida. And so I'm very excited. I really am, and looking forward to it. We need a change. Florida deserves better. With your help, we'll get it.
For your race for governor, LGBT, in terms of if we have really great turnout, can make the difference. Your election, if you're the Democratic nominee, we're talking about 1%, 2%, 3% difference between Governor DeSantis and yours, the vote for you. LGBT is the perfect catalyst of capturing that 1%, 2%, or 3%. Much of the LGBTQ in Florida is currently either a little bit apathetic or they're a little bit battle weary of what we hear from Fox News and the conservative voices. I don't know if you know this about 45 minutes north of us, there's this little house out on Palm Beach Island. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of that.
Yeah, you've heard of it.
Yes, I have.
Well, we are kind of exasperated, and we try to motivate the LGBTQ, especially the Florida community. What would you say to LGBT in Florida? Why they need to stay in it, pay attention to it, and especially get out to vote?
It's something about what you said earlier in the introductory remarks, that that the race was so close for governor last time, between DeSantis and Andrew. It was 0.4 of 1%. Only 30,000 votes. And we know, listen, the LGBTQ community alone could win that election in 22. And in 22, we need Florida to go blue. It's so critically important.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do feel like, we feel like we see an adult entering the room anytime we hear your voice and you're encouraging people to get out and vote. So I think it's very important. I think our LGBTQ community should really be paying attention to this period and our former governor right now.
Well, there's another expression for it. Being active is so critically important. And the expression in politics is, if you're not at the table, you might be the meal.
Exactly.
Well, let's get at the table, let's get in the voting booth and make sure all our friends are registered to vote. It's so important.
Congressman Chris, a lot of the LGBT Florida community does not know. They may not remember that you were governor of Florida.
Yes, of
and
course.
you were governor of Florida in a different party than you are now. Tell us a little bit about that evolution, of how that changed.
It was an amazing experience, and really so much of it has to do with President Obama. Because when I was governor, he had just been elected president. I was then a Republican at the time. Obviously, he a Democrat. We were in the depths of the Great Recession. His office invited me to go and be with him in Fort Myers, Florida, for a rally to pass the Stimulus Act. So I went. He asked me to introduce him. I did. When he came up to the podium, he hugged me, and I hugged him back. And somebody took a picture of it, and that was really the end of me as a Republican. And, sadly, it wasn't just because I dared to be with a Democratic president.
Yes.
Frankly, it was because I was with the first black president. And when I saw that in my former party, and I don't want to paint too broad a brush, there's some good Republicans, moderates, but when I saw that element, I'm like, this is not where I need to be, and I am so happy to be a Florida Democrat.
Yeah, absolutely. And last week, you were right front and center in this major infrastructure bill that passed, historic. What do you think about the efforts that went into that passage? We watched breathlessly for 4 months.
Oh, yeah, it was a little frustrating to watch. Talk about watching sausage be made. So I'm so glad we were able to get it passed Friday a week ago. I just got an invitation to be at the White House this coming Monday with President Biden when he signs it. It's going to be great for Florida, and it's just the first step of a two-step, the Build Back Better bill, I think, and we'll predict that we'll be able to get that passed in the next few weeks also.
And an opportunity to talk to LGBTQ constituents in Florida. Explain why Build Back Better is important to them, specifically for LGBT.
It's important because it's progressive.
Yes.
It does the kind of things that you would want to have done. Looks out for all groups and makes sure that the Justice Department is properly funded in the event that you have hate crimes or what have you that may come to pass. That affects so many in our society in a positive way. That's why we need it. That's why I look forward to voting for it, like I did the bill on infrastructure.
Yeah, and the go forward on the Equality Act, of course, central for the LGBTQ community. It looks like, because of filibuster, we just can't get there in the short term. The midterm elections really become critical to be able to get us to that. What do you think about the Equality Act and where we sit there?
Well, we need to pass it, obviously, and you're right. The Senate is where it's difficult, and we were just talking about the Senate candidate Val Demings, my colleague in the House right now. Her election alone could make so much progress to getting the Equality Act passed in the U.S. Senate. That's why it's important that all our Florida friends make sure they're registered to vote and get out and cast that ballot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we thank you for your representation. We constantly say at Queer News Tonight, representation matters. We have a candidate for governor in Florida that is really speaking up for the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
And then we have a current governor that we know is not going to speak up at all.
One bad, one good. The choice is crystal clear.
Choice is crystal clear.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, and we appreciate you being here at
Great
Equality
to be with
Florida.
You.
Thank you very much.
It's an honor to be with you. Have a great day.
So, Charlie Crist, what do you guys think about him and his interview with Al Ferguson and Kitty Meow?
We'll start with you, Tony, since
I was just going to say it was a very long interview. Listen, the reality is that Charlie Crist, to me, and this is my very personal opinion, he is a politician of a certain time. Has he evolved? Absolutely. Could he probably do a better job than DeSantis? Absolutely. But my vote and my push would be for Commissioner Nikki Fried, who's a woman, who's younger, who has strong progressive ideals. I would vote for her over Charlie Crist.
And she's a badass.
And a true Democrat.
And actually a Democrat.
And actually a Democrat.
So
Democrat.
explain that to me though.
progressive-
Yeah,
progressive
let's
though.
talk about that. So he used to be a moderate Republican. What is that, like a Republican light? What is that? Like a Diet Coke Republican?
Same.
Like no, but I I
Same
want to
as
know, is
moderate
that like when I was
Democrat.
bisexual, when I was like trying to pretend? Is that what that's like?
Kinda.
And so now he comes back and he's a Democrat.
He's
We
a
dabble
moderate
in
Democrat.
a little bit.
Now he's a moderate Democrat. Oh yeah, but make up your mind. And something. Like, come on. Like,
But the reality is that we've as a community, we have hinged on these moderate Republicans in these really difficult times to get stuff done, right? So there is a need to have these moderate Republicans because for our movement as a whole, they've been instrumental a lot of the time. They've been instrumental at the local level, at the state
Because
level.
of the numbers.
Absolutely. In the absence of having real progressive leadership, they've been helpful. But with that said, I agree with you 100%. I feel like he's a bit wishy-washy. I feel like he stands for so many things. I feel like maybe he should probably come out of the closet already because it's been rumored
I've
forever.
heard that
right?
rumor.
How fantastic would that have been if he would
Yeah.
have been like, you know what, I'm an openly gay man now, and I'm running for governor.
If
he
he
would have
was-
never been elected, but still.
But still,
it would
right?
have been.
If he was an openly out gay man, he would have less tanner on than he did in that interview. Let's be real, right?
That's for sure. Florida really has, this is like their last opportunity. The world is changing. It's changing fast, and it's going to change without Florida.
Well, and
if
you-
we don't
and you were
get
saying-
young progressive leadership in,
Exactly.
people are going to look around and go, what happened? And the world is going to be far, far away, and Florida's still going to be wearing lots of tanner.
Yeah, we're lots of tanner. So Charlie Crist has been around for a while, and we're thinking that it's time for like new blood. We need somebody to show us something new.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, let's square up the USA. Poll survivor helps locate suspect in Poll's memorial arson. The Orlando Fire Department Arson and Bomb Squad has arrested a suspect in the vandalization of the Poll's National Memorial in Orlando, Florida last month. 64-year-old Mark Anthony Henson is the man authorities believe was seen on camera setting fire to the memorial, which recognizes the lives lost following a mass shooting at an LGBTQ nightclub on June 12, 2016. Henson has been charged with felony criminal mischief. Orlando Torres, a Poll survivor, helped identify Henson saying, quote, I had already posted that I was heading out there to do a search, so I got leads from friends, and they said they seen him, end of quote. Based on those tips, Torres found the man and took surveillance footage of him to compare to the footage taken at the memorial. The evidence then led to Henson's arrest. Comments? Anyone?
Did you guys see the video of this man? He was in a wheelchair and he went up to the Pulse Memorial. That is like a makeshift memorial, right? Because it's all the people that have lost loved ones. Al Ferguson lost a really good friend there, right? Top Hat Eddie. And Al put a bunch of stuff up there. And he even could pinpoint on the video and say, wait a minute, that's around the area that I put my stuff at, and it says that it was $1,000 in arson, which is BS, okay? Because you can't put a price tag on those kind of memories from those people that lost significant people to them, and people that didn't lose anybody, that just went there and were like, okay, this was an attack on the LGBTQ community. I've got to come here and pay my respects,
Absolutely.
So this video was like, he's a piece of shit. I'm sorry. He's an awful human being.
Yeah, nice karma, though, that it was a survivor that caught him.
Yeah.
Right?
But
That's
at
amazing.
at the same time, you sort of have to wonder what like the mental health
It's
of
the
this
crazy-
man
Oh, he
was.
doesn't-
Right?
he
So
doesn't
from the
look
picture,
well.
he doesn't look like he's right.
Doesn't look
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like it goes a long way to show some compassion for people like this that just don't know any better. But yeah, we reported that story here on Queer News Tonight.
Yeah. So well, maybe this gives the powers that be a push to make it more secure, to make it a place that you can't just walk up to and set fire
Absolutely.
to these memories that are so important to
That's
folks.
the positive. Yes.
Something more permanent.
Yeah.
You said it's makeshift, yeah.
Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine and supporting that partnership. Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
This is Jay Rodriguez, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but he's super cute. That's all I gotta say. So we finished tonight's queer news headlines with what we call LGBTQ plus flash news. LGBTQ plus flash news. Fort Lauderdale mayor introduced new rainbow crosswalk on Gay 1A, just in time for Pride Parade. Watch this.
Kitty, what are we looking at right here?
Yes, I have seen, this is our universal crosswalk. Oh my God, this is so amazing. This is so amazing, it really makes me want to cry. I loved it.
This is the first rainbow crosswalk in the Broward County, and this is going to be dedicated on Monday at 4:30 by dear friend Mayor Manchester. They're driving on our crosswalk! So, we hope everyone can come out and join us. It's going to be the dedication to, it's the kickoff to Pride, which is going to be at 4:30 here on Sebastian and Gay 1A. We are turning it out, and this is going to be the kickoff to Pride Fort Lauderdale, which happens right on the beach, November 20 and 21st. Are you trying to fly away?
No, I'm so excited.
Yeah. This is the first in Broward County. This is history, people. So come out, please, please, please join us. We are so excited. Look at this crosswalk.
I love you, Kevin, big time, and the beautiful Miss Kitty Meow. So this evening, Fort Lauderdale Mayor Dean Trentell dedicated a special rainbow crosswalk on Sebastian Street in honor of Pride Fort Lauderdale. The temporary crosswalk is the first rainbow crosswalk in Broward County and is in the colors of the Progress Pride flag. I, for one, got massive chills just looking at this video. I can't wait to step on it this weekend.
I want it to be permanent, because this is a vinyl version of something that could be permanent, so we need to work on making this a year-round thing in Fort Lauderdale.
So I know what I'm going to be doing this weekend. I'm taking a stroll down over at Gay 1A with Patty.
I love is the new version of the Pride flag. So it looks beautiful. It looks stunning. So I'm very proud of Fort Lauderdale for that.
What color should Gay 1A be? the colors of the Pride flag.
Good question. LGBTQ flash news. Here are the anti-LGBTQ Republicans that have done drag. They won't be making RuPaul's Drag Race. Senator Josh Hawley got an unexpected drag makeover on Twitter this week, and now life will never be the same again. It all started when the 41-year-old homophobe told Axios on HBO that he plans to make toxic masculinity a signature political issue because far too many people are on the left, are telling guys like him, you're part of the problem. Your masculinity is inherently problematic, because it is. This prompted political strategist Rick Wilson, co-founder of the Lima Project, to tweet, quote, "I hope no one photoshops Josh Hawley in drag makeup. That would be totally wrong for the champion of American masculinity. Totally wrong," end quote. This isn't the first time we've seen a Republican in drag. Who can forget that cringeworthy video of Donald Trump sexually assaulting Rudy Giuliani dressed in drag? Watch this.
You know, you're really beautiful. And a woman that looks like that has to have her own special scent.
Oh, thank you. Maybe you could tell me what you think of this scent.
I like that.
This may be the best of all. Oh, you dirty boy, you. Oh. Donald, I thought you were a gentleman.
You can't say I didn't try.
The confusion on my face says it all. You're such a bad, bad, bad boy. I have nothing else to say, actually. I'm just done.
Tony's confused and I'm just grossed out. Like, that is a very gross
too much
video to watch.
You know, if anything, Josh Hawley is not exactly the picture of masculinity in my book, so I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know. That felt like an assault. Those two. I can't even say their names.
See, Al Ferguson, you don't look so bad in drag. They look way worse than you.
Are you really sure about that, Manita? He looks pretty bad. Good hair, but he looks pretty horrible.
Good hair. Yeah.
Second that, Tony. LGBTQ plus flash news. Worldpride 2025 chooses Taiwan. Worldwide Pride 2025 will take place in Kaohsiung City, Taiwan, which will be the first time a World Pride will be held in an East Asian country. Kaohsiung Pride beat out Washington, D.C.'s Capital Pride Alliance to host the event. Today's decision came after more than 300 member organizations from around the world voted during Interpride's 2021 general meeting, which was held virtually this week. Interpride is the organization behind Worldpride. The meeting featured performances by non-binary actor and musician Kat Cunning. Worldpride promotes LGBTQ plus rights awareness on a global scale and is licensed through one of the Interpride's member organizations. It's made up of human rights conferences, concerts, and marches. This will hopefully bring light to the issues in China, who refuses to recognize Taiwan as its own country.
I am so...
That's my one sentence.
So sad.
So sad.
I'm so happy for Taiwan. Actually, I visited Taipei right before the pandemic to the gayborhood, and they were celebrating gay marriage for the first in a country in Asia. So for them to have this honor, I'm like beyond. I'm so happy for them. So
yeah, this is intentional. They chose to stay, and I'm so glad that they chose to stay in Taiwan and take a stand for the.
I feel that this will definitely help advance human rights, in the world by having World Pride there for sure.
Yeah.
What they said, but I want to bring special attention to my friend here, Nora, who had the longest story ever on Queer News Tonight, and also had to say Kaohsiung City in history.
In history.
And had to say Kaohsiung City like 6 times.
Yes.
Say it again. Kaohsiung City.
Kaohsiung City.
All right.
Kaohsiung City.
You're so good at that.
I know, right?
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Faye. What? And I didn't break Queer News Tonight. And on behalf of these incredible LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including my brother, Tony Lima, the gorgeous Miss Nora Rotella, the handsome Mr. Paul Thomas, and Dino Mosquera, sleeping with the world. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. But before we end our show, we have one last story for you.
Yeah, we're going to queer up South Florida. City Commissioner Chris Caputo discusses what's different about a majority LGBTQ plus city. Recently, Queer News Tonight sat down with Wilton Manors City Commissioner Chris Caputo. In our interview, he discusses what it's like being in a majority LGBTQ plus city, why making sure everyone is represented is important, and what his political plans for the future are. Watch this.
Well, next up, we have a very special interview. Our hometown, Wilton Manors, is lovingly referred to by Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network as the gayest place on planet Earth. After all, this was America's first city to have a gay mayor and all LGBTQ city commission, and then a gay mayor for our major metropolitan city, Fort Lauderdale. Let's talk about LGBTQ politics with Wilton Manors City Commission, Chris Caputo. As a longtime Wilton Manors resident and business owner, Chris has been quoted as saying, quote, "I know firsthand life is just better here, and I'm humbled to serve our community," end quote. Chris is the founder of Development Partners, a local business providing digital marketing services to other small businesses, focusing on data direct, technology-based marketing strategies. Chris also serves on the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce as membership chairman and as a member of the executive board since 2020. And lastly, Chris is a board member of the Wilton Manors Business Association, as well as Plays of Wilton, a unique theater collective. We welcome Chris Caputo to Queer News Tonight. Chris, good evening.
It is so great to be here.
I have talked to you many, many times. Of course, you're unique to me as a city commissioner because I see you everywhere, including Wilton Drive. Are you working the streets, by the way? Is
I
that
mean,
what you're doing?
It might as well be at this point.
Exactly, and the bars and everything else. You were elected. You're serving your first term.
That's right.
Tell us why you decided to do that. Why did you decide you're going to run for office?
You know, the city, as I've told people many times, the city took care of me, you know, when I was having a difficult time in my life, you know, when I found out I had HIV, you know, and I was just coming out of a bad relationship, and the Pride Center was there, and people in the community were there, and I felt at home and safe, and it really actually created an opportunity for me to put down roots and really find myself, right? And so in living in a city and loving it and needing to protect this for other people, I just saw things not being as great as they could be. And so I really said, like, this is a time to do what I can to ensure it's there for the next generation.
I have COVID fog in my head. You've been in office now a year.
Yeah.
You decided to run in COVID pandemic. That must have been incredibly difficult.
So it was nothing like what they say a campaign should be like. I'm grateful that being a digital marketer, I had a bit of an advantage perhaps because much of it was done online in Zoom and meetings like that.
So you've done it for a year. Any regrets so far?
I have no regrets, but I can tell you it's much different than what you might think it is to be commissioner.
And what does that mean?
You know, so I think you see this as like, this is going to be fun and we're going to make all these important decisions. And that is true. And
you still have to make the sausage? Is that what you just
I'll tell you, the best part of the job is actually the making of the sausage. You know, it is getting the phone calls from people that, you know, it's like, hey, I don't know what to do with this permit, or, you know, literally, when is bulk trash? And all these things can seem so menial, but it's actually the community that I love, so it's a lot of fun.
It brings me to a question that I'm always fascinated. I haven't had the opportunity to ask you this, but now I get the chance. You're the only politician I think I have ever seen that appears regularly in Facebook groups, and of course that's your digital marketing experience, but you engage people in very unusual ways, and lots of your shares in social media are about your experience. You talk about becoming single, and you talk about Botox. I think I read one of your posts that you engage constituents and people in Grindr. Is that true, by the way? I don't.
Maybe a different type of engagement on that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Got it. Note to self.
Yep.
But it's unusual in the way you're engaging your constituents in Wilton Manors, and many, many more people are listening to you outside of Wilton Manors. What's the motivation to be so out there? I mean, politicians generally don't represent themselves the way you do.
So, you know, the thing that I've never really understood is you know, why as a politician, you sort of have this love of community, right? You love the city that you're in. I love people. I love the opportunity to connect and just get to know them and help one another. And so I'm delighted that it's the platform by which to do that, right? You know, and that the whole point of this was exactly so I can do these things, you know, and the best things for me are when someone's having, like, you know, they've got a question, or they're struggling with something, or they just need a resource in the city, to be there and actually be able to help that, or to change someone's mind, you know, who was like, maybe they didn't know we had affordable housing in Wilton Manors, to be able to point to, look at what we have here that we built as a community. That's like what I get up out of bed for, you know. It's really rewarding.
Interesting. And Wilton Manors, of course, is considered such an LGBT embracing place. So many LGBT residents here. You and the entire city commission is LGBT. I've got that right?
No, so we actually, our mayor, Mayor Scott Newton, is straight.
Okay, yeah. And then I was distinguishing the mayor and LGBT previously through Justin. When he was mayor, it was entirely particularly LGBT. I'm curious for people that are listening that go, wait, you said the entire commission plus the mayor, or previously the entire commission and the mayor is LGBT. People will go, you know, the Scooby-Doo moment of, I'm not quite sure I understood that. Tell us what that's like to serve in a commission that is almost completely opposite of most city commissions in America, where you would be the minority, but you're actually the majority. Tell us what that experience is like.
Well, I think one thing it's almost difficult to describe that is, in living in Wilton Manors, you feel like you're not a minority. You know, we are, you know, roughly 50% LGBT. So all the experience I know in my life is not feeling out of normal. I think, if anything, the thing that I'm fascinated with is, though we are mostly LGBT, we are still very different and unique in the things that motivate us and move us. Some of us are more family oriented. Some of us are more nightlife oriented.
We're not all the same thing.
We're not all the same thing, right? And so even though it's like, you know, hey, we are all this type of diversity, it's interesting to see how we all still have these other unique qualities about us.
That's interesting. Anything that having an all LGBT city commission, plus the mayor being straight, Scott being straight, anything that is a weakness or a problem by having that many LGBT?
Yeah, so I mean, I think one of the challenges is, you know, we are, let's say that we're 50% LGBT, and of course we have a lot of tourism dollars that are primarily LGBT, but I think there's a challenge when you are almost or all, and then you're spending money on this group demographic that looks like you. It's easy for people to think you're ignoring everybody else or anything that is not that. It's interesting. I think, you know, at times we may be overly cautious about what we do from an LGBT point of view to ensure that those that are not LGBT don't feel like they're being left behind.
That's interesting. Let's put you in the bucket that we've reported on at Queer News tonight. Victory Fund reports that there's approximately 1,000 LGBT elected officials in America. You're one of those. Congratulations, of one of the 1,000. Victory Fund reports that we're at an all-time high for LGBT in school boards, city commissions, all the way up to a cabinet secretary. The negative of that note is that if we were going to follow our population percentages, we need 22,000 of you. We only have 1,000. Even though we're at a historic high, we've got a long, long way to go. What do you think about that observation in terms of population and representation? And what has to happen to change that for us to continue to add more Chris Caputos?
So I think, you know, and some irony I realize in me saying this, but I think politics is historically, or has often been, white men of a certain age, or at least that's the perceived experience out there, right? And I think that's still dominating it. We know we don't have as many women, we don't have the racial diversity, we don't have the gender identity or sexual orientation diversity, right? So that's not there. And so we need to work on that. And unfortunately, that's going to take longer than I think any of us are okay with. But I don't think it's going to be all that long in the lifespan of a world, right? But I think what we have to remember is we are louder and we are more present. And that, I'm not just speaking for LGBT, but whether, you know, again, whether you're Muslim, whether you're a woman, whether you're trans, you know, when you're out there, when you are that person that is the person that it looks different from, you have a platform by which you can already more easily stand out. And I think, frankly, to give credit, I think that the media often gives those minorities oftentimes equal airtime, right? Because they are the different, if you will.
Trying to provide a leg up.
Trying to provide a leg up. So I think, you know, I don't so much, I mean, we have a long way to go, but I think there's a lot of opportunity that comes with where we're at still today.
And speaking of that, I know a lot of people listening to you, they will go, you're kind of unusual, and not kind of, you are definitely unusual in terms of your path of city commission. Are there differences? I mean, after all, we're coming up on the midterms. It's looking a little grim right now. We hope it'll improve in terms of projections. We have a governor's race that I'm pretty sure I know who you don't want to be reelected, and a Senate race which I'm pretty sure I know who you don't want to be reelected. But what is different from a local race like yours at City Commission and what happens at the state level and the national level? And is it a natural progression, or are the kinds of people running for local completely different than those at state or national?
So I'm new to this, so I'll answer the best I can with what I know. You know, it does seem to me that many people use local office as a launch pad for something, I don't like to use the word greater, but something that is on a larger scale, if you will. Mm-hmm. That happens to not be for me because I struggle when I see, you know, in state and federal legislation, the speed at how slow things move and how hard it is to have that really meaningful direct impact as one person. You know, in our community, you know, the vote we make or the phone call we take or the person we help, that's our neighbor. They're going to feel it. They're going to feel it tomorrow, not after there's been gridlock and nobody can vote on something for a long time. That being said, you know, when it came to, for example, Texas and the craziness that's going over there about reproductive rights, you know, that was an example of an issue where I historically, like, this is not in my backyard, if you will, but that one is one that's a real example of this is in my backyard, because some things it's so easy to see how when you are challenging something, say in the Supreme Court of Texas or whatever that may be, right? It becomes a model by which that then moves to Florida, that then moves to Broward County down to Wilton Manors. And so I do think that I love the localness of it. It's very different than the things we address, but we also have to have an eye that all politics are local, and sometimes these national things can really hurt people we care about on a local level.
Interesting. You are a younger face. You come to community in different ways. Your transparency in terms of being single and moving into single and the many things that you talk about. We'll probably return to Grindr in a little bit. So can you transition that local into county, into state, into national? Do you have those aspirations? What's going to be next for you?
There's no. I mean, I don't have any interest in that. But what I would say is, that doesn't mean that a large impact can't be made. So like one way that I think about it is, you know, if in Wilton Manors, right, where we have some trans population, but generally we don't have as much support for our own trans community as I'd like to see, I look at that and I say, Wilton Manors, we should be the leading edge of taking care of our trans community, right? Or showing trans right and inclusiveness and these sort of things. And we can show how it's done here, where frankly, we should be the easiest place to do this right, coming together in community. And that can become a model by which other places do things. You know, even I look at, you know, the affordable housing we had at the Pride Center, right? Which was done with seniors. The seniors, that's right. You know, affordable senior housing is many of the people that live there, though it's not targeted, because it's on the Pride Center campus, many LGBT people live there. And that was done not at any ongoing sort of taxpayer expense. You know, it was creative, public, private, you know, fundraising partnership. And I think that there's so much that can be done in Wilton Manors to have an impact on a national stage without leaving the community that means so much to me.
I want to make sure that I heard you clearly. So you shut the door completely on moving outside of our community. You have no aspirations.
I have no aspirations of running for any elected thing outside of our community.
I see. And your term ends next November?
No, so I'm here for 3 more years.
3 more years. Yeah. We got you for 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
How did we do that?
You know, I'm sorry, but thank you.
Right. And okay, I hear you loud and clear. And interesting to me, your mention about trans. Last week I did a 4-part interview with Admiral Dr. Rachel Levine, and we talked about the trans community and healthcare and the state laws that are attacking, especially in states like Florida. Last week I also interviewed Tori Cooper, who's the HRC's National Trans Director for the White House, HIV, and a trans woman of color. And I asked her that specific question. Do you see, in terms of the attacks, do you see our community, the L and the G and the B and the Q, defending our T and our acronym in the way that you see fit and you think it should be accomplished? And she didn't pause for like half a second before she goes, never. And basically said our community doesn't stand up for the T. What do you think about that? I understand you're very pro and support of the trans community. What do you think of Tori Cooper's observation?
So yeah, but I think she's right. But what I would say is it's not a never here in our area. You know, and again, this is where Wilton Manors can lead. Is many in our community do stand up, for the trans community, but it's still a fraction of what needs to happen. You know, I completely can understand how, you know, we were all so riled up as a community when it was like our right to marry, and we were this one united mass, right? But as we moved across that finish line, and that alleviated some of our deep fears and concerns about things like end of life and our partners and everything that goes in healthcare and everything that goes with that, right? It's easy when you don't have a trans person as your roommate, as your sister, as, you know, somebody close to you. It's out of sight, out of mind. So I don't necessarily think that our community is choosing. They're saying, we don't want to support you, but we're not integrated in enough ways.
So it's inactive support.
That's right. Yeah, I think when we really start showing what's happening here, and for me, what got me involved in the community was I sat down with a trans person who became a friend of mine and just started to like ask about life experiences, and I was just blown away at, you know, like you realize how much privilege you have when you hear those stories, you know, and I couldn't understand how they got up and just faced the day, you know. And so it's just like when you know a gay person, you think differently about gay people. When you know a trans person, you know, you feel differently about it.
You very well said. You have. I want to finish the interview by returning back to Wilton Manors. It's a very special place, clearly for the LGBTQ community, especially. We have so many visitors that come into South Florida and they visit Wilton Manors, or they think about that they want to visit Wilton Manors before a cruise or after a cruise. We have the 2 most popular cruise ports in the world for LGBT. What would you tell people on why they should visit Wilton Manors and why they should come and see it and maybe come and live here?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things as a city we need to do better, frankly, is marketing of Wilton Manors. Frankly, it's shows like this that help market Wilton Manors, because we're not doing enough to get the word out. But where the city may not be stepping up, our community does. You know, I love when I see people that are coming down and they'll go and they'll join a Wilton Manors. There's many Wilton Manors groups on Facebook. They'll join one, they'll say, what's there to do? And man, it is like 300 people that will jump on that and ask questions like, you know, are you looking to play a sport while you're here? Are you going out for cocktails? You know, who are you? And we will connect you with our community. It is a place like no place else, and so open and welcoming. I think those are probably my favorite posts, is seeing about people either coming to visit or the people that came to visit that said, hey, we think we might want to live here, or then finally when they move. I mean, you can see it on a daily basis. It is, what makes it great here is we really are a welcoming community, and there is something for everybody here, wherever you identify in the spectrum.
Well, it's certainly true. We have friends of the show in Palm Springs, in P-Town, in Key West, in West Hollywood. But we always remind them that we are still the gayest place on planet Earth, and that's the way it should be. Chris Caputo, thank you very much. City Commissioner for Wilton Manors. We'll have to, I understand you're going to come to Queer News tonight and anchor
I'm so
soon.
excited about that too,
that'll be great. And we'll begin to figure out over the next 3 years how we get Chris Caputo to think about more after your 4-year stint here at Wilton Manors. Thank you for being with us tonight at Queer News Tonight.
Thank you for all you do.
LGBTQ+ news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire